Okay guys, first thing you do when it comes to the Flow NX2 bindings is to set the disc correctly, the aluminium disc. So you can see the disc here. My toe side is on this side, my heel side is on this side. You can place the disc in various ways. I chose to place the disc in a horizontal way, okay, from left to right on the snowboard. And one thing you need to pay attention to is on which side the flow sign is being put at. You can choose to put the flow sign also more towards the toe side. What that does is in whatever direction the flow sign is at, whether it's going to be heel side or toe side, it shifts more to that particular side. So in this case, I have the aluminium disc set in a vertical way, which is quite standardized, but with the flow sign to my heel side, which means that the binding, the base of the binding, the chassis, it will automatically be more shifted towards my heel side instead of my toe side. So if you prefer to place the aluminium disc horizontal, as I have, but you want a little bit more that the binding shifts to your toe side on the board, then you should place the flow side the other direction, which is to your toe side. And then you will feel also during boarding that your toe side has a little bit more the advantage. I really prefer the flow side to be more on my heel side, because naturally when I stand on my board, I already lean a little bit forward. So it's easier for me to lean forward and do a toe side turn than to lean backwards and do a heel side turn. So that's why I prefer the flow sign to be at the side of my heel side, which shifts the binding a little bit more to the heel side when put horizontally on my board. That's point number one. So point number two is to make sure you place the footbed correctly. In this case, we have a standard footbed, which has been on the NX2s, I think, since forever. You can see that with this particular footbed, you can either make the footbed longer or shorter. So for example, if you really place it like this and you screw it in, then you have the shortest footbed option in practice. But if you want to extend the footbed a little bit, you can, for example, just point it out a little bit more forward, like here, like this. And from there on, you can put the screw in, and it will extend your footbed by approximately 1 centimeter. So, for example, like I have done, if you choose to put the flow sign more towards your heel side and attach it horizontally, you can then put the footbed a little bit more forward when screwing, and therefore you even the size. Okay, so for people who have like bigger feet, you can get a little bit more size for your footbed, but also a little bit more size for your heel side. So you can get a little bit more size for your toe side, and you can get a little bit more size for your heel side by just applying both options. The flow sign directed to your heel side, and then the footbed a little bit more extended towards your toe side. So in this case, you can really even the odds when it comes to balancing the binding, the chassis and the footbed on your board. So now we come to point number 3, which is about the Exo Cush power strap. The tips that I'm going to provide are also meant for the hybrid strap, so it doesn't really matter. But what it all comes to is that it's very important to even the straps and balance them over your boot. Okay, this could be quite challenging, I would say. It takes some measuring, and doing it wrong a couple of times, but it's okay. But just try to balance it over your boot as much as possible when you put your boot in. What I use in order to get these loose, which can really hurt your finger, by the way, is a small spoon edge, or you know, the end, the how do you say that? You know, the spoon itself. So you can just put it in between here and then open it without hurting your fingers. Okay, so this is very, very handy. When you have set your strap centralized, okay, also take in consideration that this hexagonal or diamond shape should be a little bit centered in the exoskeleton. Okay, so once you have centered this a little bit in, and you also think that your straps are centralized over the boot, then it's time to test whether your easy entry in the strap, in the binding, is good or not. So how do we do that? It's very simple. I'm going to show you. So once you have put in the boot in the binding, okay, like I'm doing right now with one hand, test whether the highback closes easily. If the highback comes in contact, if the lower part of the highback, the heel cup part, comes in contact with your boot, it will for 100% damage your boot. So this is not good, of course. So in my case, you can see that the highback doesn't really close that well. This is a problem. This is not how you should close the highback on your boot, because if you close your highback like this, it will use a lot of force to push your boot forward when pulling up the lever. So that's not good. So you need to make sure that your boot is really in. So you really need to make sure that your boot is really in the power strap by either loosening the power strap or shifting your boot just more forward. If your power strap is already loose enough, you have to shift your foot enough forward for the highback to close fully without any force. Okay, so one more time. If the heel cup of the highback is scraping your boot like this, okay, you can see that if I put my boot like this and it's scraping your boot like this and it doesn't really close, it means two things. It means that your straps are not loose enough, or your straps might be loose enough, but you have not shifted your foot enough into the binding forward. So when I shift it like this forward, you can now see that there is like about 1 to 2 centimeters space between my boot and the heel cup, which is a good sign. And therefore, because there is enough space between my boot heel and the heel cup, you can see that therefore it will close much better, and it won't damage my boot. Let's try it again. We put it in. We put it in. We lock it in. So again, we have enough room between the boot and the heel cup. It's not touching, and when we go up, it goes perfectly like this. Okay. So only when pulling up the highback, only the soft part of the highback should be in contact with your boot. If the hard part gets in contact with your boot, again, it means two things. Either you have not shifted far enough into the binding, into the strap, or the straps need to be loosened so that you can shift in far enough into the binding in order for only the the soft part of the highback to be in contact with your boot, when pulling it up. Okay, so this is how it should be. And from there on, you can click the lever. Okay, now we come to point number 4. Okay, just to recap very quickly, we have discussed the aluminium disc plate, how to set it. You can set it vertically on your board, but you can also set the aluminium disc horizontally, like I have. Keep in mind with the flow symbol on the aluminium disc, because the direction that the flow symbol is at means that the binding will be more shifted towards that direction, different than the other direction. Okay, so have a good think about that. Second, we discussed the straps, the power straps. Try to centralize as much as possible over your boot. Use a spoon to get these ratchets open. Okay, and of course with the buckles you can do the other part of the setting up regarding balancing the power strap. Also make sure that when you balance the power strap, power strap, you take this shape in consideration, that it fits the exoskeleton in a certain way, balanced, because this says a lot. Then we talked about how to test whether you have a good easy entry or not, and what to look out for when you pull up the highback, in order not to damage your boot. Now we're going to talk about how to get locked in the power strap without having disco feet. A common problem that a lot of flow binding users complain about is that once they have set up the easy entry, and the easy entry really works well, they have the feeling that they are too loose in their binding, which also means that they lose board feel, they lose board control, and also being loose in your binding, it kind of causes you to experience leg fatigue very quickly, because you need to work more in your binding with your feet when you are not locked in your binding. So how can we solve this? Just make sure that you configure your forward lean correctly. Okay, configuring your forward lean is very, very important. As you can see here, I have set my forward lean to 2 stripes, which means that when I get into my boot, the high back will be pushed more forward, which also means that my boot will be much more locked in my power strap. It also means that the distance between my boot and the high back will be minimal. And therefore, because the distance between my boot and my high back, for example, when you do a toe turn, will be minimal, it will cost much less energy to do a heel turn coming from a toe turn. And that gives you much more board control and much more satisfying feeling, utilizing the full performance of the binding. So it's very, very important to use your forward lean. Now, a well-known problem that flow users describe regarding the forward lean is that once you set the screw up at the desired level, at the desired stripe here, at the forward lean, it comes back down due to the pressure of the cable. Well guys, it's very simple to solve that by just using a piece of sports tape, which I will demonstrate now. So that you can lock the screw in and it doesn't come down anymore, and you have permanent forward lean, which of course gives you a much more board control, a locked in feel towards the power strap. Okay guys, so first thing you do is open the lever, and then you twist or turn the screw as up as possible. Okay, so all the way to the plus. Okay, then you just take a piece of sports tape. Okay, just piece of sports tape. You have some tweezers. And just pay attention, start at the right side. Just put it through. Okay. And then with the other end, I hold it with the tweezers. Oh. Just try it again. And you just put it on the upper side of the screw. That's where you start. Okay. And then you turn it to the minus. Okay, and from now on, you just keep on turning on to the minus side while holding the sports tape tight in order to lock in the screw. So here, there's no grip from holding it with my fingers, so I use a tweezer. Oh. And I just keep turning it to the minus side. And now the screw is locked in. And it's locked in at 2 stripes. I'm not very satisfied. I'll just do this again. And it's locked in at a little bit more than 2 stripes. A little bit more at 2 stripes. So that's good. And that's how you do it. Now the forward lean is locked in, and despite the pressure that the cable puts on the screw cannot go down anymore in its standard position of the forward lean, which is all the way at the bottom. It's not possible anymore for the screw to reach the bottom due to the sports tape blocking it from going down. So this is how you lock the forward lean in the desired level. Okay guys, regarding the forward lean, I want to demonstrate how your flow bindings should be set up completely, and what the advantage will be if you follow all the steps as I advised you earlier. Let me demonstrate. So now you can see what I mean with the advantage of the forward lean. If I, for example, perform a toe side turn, you now see that the distance between my binding and my boot is very minimal. Okay? I could use more forward lean if I wanted to, which means that the highback would even put a little bit more pressure towards my boot, which is fine, but I think 2 stripes is enough for me. But the consequence of this is that because the highback is put more forward towards my boot automatically gets more locked in into my straps, while still while still enjoying the ease of entry. Okay? Because when I open it, it's very easy to step out, and due to the straps being loose enough for me to easily enter like this, and then pull up the high back like this. Okay, you can see that the heel cup isn't in contact with my boot, only the soft part. I strap it in, and I can really feel that the bindings are tightly hugging my boots. There is no disco feet. Okay, so this is very important. Again, there's minimal space between my high back and my boot, which means that now I can fully utilize the stiffness of the high back and the performance of the binding as how it should be. Okay? If you feel that there is a lot of space between your high back and your boot, which also causes disco feet, loose feeling in the bindings, just configure your forward rating as I showed you. And now you have the best of both worlds. You have easy entry, but at the same time you have full performance of the binding, and you're locked in your binding like a traditional binding, and from now on you never have to crank your bindings, your ratchets constantly. You can just leave your ratchets alone, and you enjoy full performance of how the Flow NX2 is meant to perform.